Hey everybody, my name's Shard. Welcome to One Foot of Books, episode 22. Wow, 22. Who'd have thought I'd made it this far? But here we are. Got 1 foot of books here. Measure it out, 1 foot. Bam, a little bit over actually. Episode 22. Going to be going through a few paperbacks. A couple of little hardcovers there too. Awesome. It's a beautiful, wonderful spring day here in the Blue Mountains of Australia. Sun is shining, the birds are singing, the beads are trying to mate with them, or is it to my understanding? No. But yeah, wonderful day. I hope everyone out there is having a great day, even if you're staring into a screen, as you would be to be watching this. Anyway, let's get started, eh? So this is a cool little book I picked up at the Salvos in Springwood a while ago. Sun Songs, Creation Myths from Around the World. It is a Meridian print from, when is this from? 1980. Edited by a guy named Raymond von Over. It's a collection of, I think, different essays that people have written, or maybe he wrote it, edited, introduced, and with commentaries by Raymond von Over. I'm not too sure. I've dipped in and out of this. I'm an old religion buff. I love my myths and legends and, you know, that kind of stuff, spirituality. But yeah, and I've always liked creation myths. They've been some of my favorites from when I was young, growing up in NZ and learning and hearing the creation myths from over there, which are really cool. Quite usual for like a Pacific Island nation. You know, Maui's in there, Rangi and Papa. You know, all sorts. The Maui's brothers who are in charge of all the elements and stuff like that. Maui's brothers? No, sorry. Rangi and Papa's children were all in charge of the basic elements. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, the Māori creation myths, really cool. I grew up on those, and this is creation myths from around the world, which is a fascinating little book. So it goes through, let's have a look, see here, Mesopotamia, South America, with the Popol Vuh, of course, North America, so a lot of Native American creation myths. Yeah, basically from all over the world, really. Egypt, Judeo-Christian, Near East, Oceania, and South Sea Island peoples. Those are the ones I've got a personal preference for. I love all that stuff. That and the South American ones. I haven't done too much of North America, though. I should dip into that. Dip into it a bit more. The Book of Law. Liber al Legis, if I'm saying that right. The Book of Law was written by the one and only Aleister Crowley, and I got this cool edition. They did the local, or the Sydney-based Ordo de Templieris, or whatever it's called, the Crowley Church. They did a exhibition of some of his artwork in Paddington years ago, and I went along, and they were giving out these little books, like they would give out, you know, like the Gideons give out Bibles kind of thing, you know. And you got this cool little book with like, oh, nice gold leaf, and it's basically it's like a reprint of the Book of Law, which was dictated to Crowley through an entity through his wife at the time, I believe, who was kind of possessed by an Egyptian entity who told him all this stuff. Yeah, I've read a little bit of it. It's pretty dense, very Crowleyite. Crowley was kind of like Gurdjieff, I think, and just like he was purposefully messing with people. If you go to your local Ordo de Templieris, if I'm saying that right, temple, they'll probably have free copies of this. If not, you can find them online. There's a lot of Crowley stuff out there. But yeah, got this one for free. You can't argue with that, can ya? This is a rather battered, dusty old copy of Hermann Hesse's The Glass Bead Game. Sorry, it is fly season here in Australia. In between spring and summer, you get a lot of these horrible little flies flying around everywhere, and they go up your nose, suck on your eye juice. Horrible. God. Why would anyone live here? Anyway, Hermann Hesse, the glass bead game. I found this in my grandmother's garage. I don't know if it belonged to my grandfather or my uncle, who are both sadly deceased. But I found this in a box of books, and I was like, oh, who was reading Hesse? Fancy. And I was just like, I've always kind of wanted to read the glass bead game. And I did read it. I ended up, like, I read it probably, I don't know, 12 years ago. I was working in a warehouse, and I'd duck down into the far recesses of the warehouse when it was quiet, and I'd just, like, read this. That's quite fun. Good memories. Good book. It's not long, but it's not short either. It's about 500 pages. It's a tough read, but I really enjoyed it. And there's some cool short stories in the end, which was kind of like, you know, reincarnations of Joseph Nett through different time periods. Those are really cool as well. If you haven't read any Hesse, probably not the place to start. Maybe start with Siddhartha or one of his shorter ones. Maybe Steppenwolf. I tried to read Steppenwolf. I don't know. I have to go back to it, but I do like Hesse. Glass Bead Game is a classic, and it's very well worth your read. If you have read any Hesse, please do try and find a copy of this and read it. It's a really good book. It's all to do with, like, not a future society, but a society based around, like, a game that's kind of like chess and Go. And they've built schools and basically a society around it. And, yeah, really cool book. And Joseph Nett's like the world's best player kind of thing. And, yeah. Cool book. Really like that one. Erwin Stengel, Suicide and Attempted Suicide. I haven't read this one. It's a Pelican edition. Not Penguin, Pelican. Sorry, it is Penguin books. Why is there a pelican on it? I don't know. What are they doing to me? This is the 1977 edition, first published 1964. It's a bit dated now. I haven't really read it. I found it in a box of books outside my friend's bookshop. And someone had dumped there. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it yet. But, you know, cool cover. Wow, Wilhelm scream. Yeah, it's kind of based in, like, it's British kind of statistics and stuff like that. But it looks interesting. Part 1, Suicide. Can I even say that on YouTube? Oh my god, am I going to get de-nothingatized? Attitudes of society towards statistics, methods, the psychological and social effects of attempted. Yeah, I better be careful saying that word. People tend to do it when you talk about it. Weird, eh? That whole thing. It's a fascinating subject to me. Like, you get clusters of them and stuff like that. You hear of villages out somewhere. One kid does it, and then 10 others do it. Yeah, crazy. Well, I shouldn't say crazy. It's just it's mind-boggling. Such a weird concept. L. Dudley Stamp, The Geography of Life and Death. I got this from that same box. Someone was trying to tell someone something. I don't know how that box ended up there. What is this about? How far can the techniques of geography help to explain the causes of health and disease? Professor Stamp puts this vital question for the first time. It is his belief that maps of disease and mortality are as necessary as maps of natural resources, of population, or of politics. This is a Fontana edition from 1964, dedicated and addressed to a few million guinea pigs who don't know it. Yes, let's have a look at some of the chapters here. The Rise and Fall of Cholera, World Killers, Living in the Tropics, The Rulers of Africa, Malnutrition, Dying at Home, Seeking for Health, Work to Do. Someone has gone through and marked a few passages with pen. What is this one? This is from page 55, World Killers. Yet it was not until 1912 that the first experimental isolation of the responsible virus was successful, and in recent years therapeutics of simple application have caused the disease to recede before the march of civilization. While trachoma has thus been almost eliminated from the more advanced countries, it has spread elsewhere with increased mobility of people. Trachoma. What's trachoma? Let me know. Herodotus, the Histories. Penguin Classics, never read it. Where did I get this from? I think it was in an ex-partner's drawer in the kitchen. 1983 edition. Herodotus. Yes, I haven't read it. I haven't read it. It's just in the stack. This is the book I have read. Roger-Pol Droit, if that's how you say it. Droit. Droit. You know, yeah, I'm Roger Droit. Roger-Pol Droit. French writer. 101 Experiments for the Philosophy of Everyday Life. Or in the Philosophy of Everyday Life. This is a really cool book. If you ever just like sitting around going, bored, what am I doing with myself and this body in my life? It's 101 experiments you can do at home or anywhere, just about, I don't know, being more aware and stuff like that. There's a really cool experiment in here for us dudes out there. I don't know how well it would work with the female of the species. I mean, I suppose it could. What you do, and I found this really cool, is you go to the toilet, you stand up for a wee, and as you're weeing, you're drinking water at the same time. So you're drinking and you're getting this, you're trying to imagine this kind of flow-on effect of like the water entering and leaving your body at the same time. That was really cool. I've done that. It's not disgusting. Try it out. This is a really cool book. I haven't dipped into it in a long time. Yeah, so it's got things like telephone at random, peel an apple in your head, row on a lake in your room. Yeah, this is, I've had this for a while now. It came from Shakespeare and Company. There you go. Sylvia Beach Whitman, wherever that is. 2001, this was released in 2002 when it was translated. Away, fly, away. Cool book. The Oxford authors, Oscar Wilde. The Writings of Oscar Wilde. I haven't read this. I think, I've read Dorian Gray somewhere along the way. This has basically got all this stuff in it, without the novels, I think. Yeah, so it's got its shorts, it's got its critical dialogues and plays. It might have everything he's done. How's about that, Husky? Crammed into 640 pages. It's more than what most of us do. This is from 1989. The Writings of Oscar Wilde. You can find these kind of editions almost anywhere. They pop up in thrift stores and secondhand stores everywhere all the time. Good to have on hand, just in case you're just like, oh, I always wanted to read the idea of being earnest, and it's right in here, along with everything else he's done. Another book I haven't read. Got this from the Salvos in Marrickville. Arundhati Roy, writer of The God of Small Things. Another book I've got that I haven't read, but I do love Ms. Roy. I was a big fan of her. She goes on Democracy Now! Every once in a while. And she's, yeah, I just think she's a wonderful human being. And I haven't read any of her stuff. I'm sorry. I will eventually. And Walking with the Comrades, this is what this is called, Walking with the Comrades. Arundhati Roy chronicles the weeks she spent living in the forest with forest gorillas, like not gorillas, more like gorillas. Yeah, whereabouts? Deep in the forest, under pretense of battling Maoist guerrillas, the Indian government is waging a vicious total war against its own citizens. Wow, there you go. Haven't heard of that in a while. When was this published? 2011. There you go. My friend Rachel at her bookshop, Urchin Books, gave me this. Abduction to the Ninth Planet. She says it's awesome. I've never read it. Michel Desmarquet. A true report by the author, who was physically abducted to another planet. In June of 1987, I was abducted by extraterrestrial beings, highly evolved spiritually, and also the most technologically developed in our galaxy. Well, lucky Michel. They took me physically to their planet on a journey that had a time lapse of 9 earthly days. It was not an astral travel, nor an astral contact. I was there with my physical body, as incredible as it may seem. By transubstantiation, we travelled through the light barrier, moving in and out of space and time instead of moving through it. For our physicists, of course, this is unexplainable, but I witnessed it. We're not the only human beings in the galaxy. This book not only conveys a message I am relaying on their behalf, it also contains the most sensational revelations of the century. Amazing revelations on our purpose on Earth, reincarnation, life after death, invisibility, levitation, the Big Bang, the Bermuda Triangle, Easter Island, Great Pyramid as a cosmic tool. Wow. That's about as far as I got, page 10. Not to say that I was like... I haven't read it. You don't see this around very often. It's published... Arafura Publishing, 1993. There you go. Haven't read it. Have you read it? Let me know. One of my favourite books when I was kind of growing up in the early 2000s, because I was reading the Idler magazine, How to Be Idle, by Tom Hodgkinson. I believe I may have covered this. I've got another edition of this, a hardcover. This is the one I first got way back. Way back. Probably 2005. God, almost 20 years. If you ever feel like you're caught up in the hustle culture and you're kind of that mindset anyway, and you're like, oh, I'm worried, just watched half an hour of TV, I feel so guilty. Read this book. It's a very cool book. He kind of breaks down a 24-hour day and how to spend it being idle, and not try and doing your damn best and not worry about not doing everything all the time all at once. So at the back it says, embrace nothing, know nothing, do nothing. The key to a life of pleasure, freedom, and guilt-free lounging rests in your hands. It's got chapters focusing on things such as the nap. I'm a big fan of naps since having a kid, though. They're gone. The ramble. Love a good ramble. Just a walk. Fishing. On being ill. Skiving for pleasure and profit. Sleeping in. Meditation. Party time. The art of conversation. Yeah. Great book. You can still find it. It's out there. It's out there. I've seen it occasionally in op shops, more so second-hand bookshops, for the more discerning cheapskate. Umberto Eco, Travels in Hyperreality. One of his collections of essays. He's got a few out there. And I've read bits of this. It's got a receipt in it. Where did I get this from? It's from the Salvos. Whoa, can't even read the date anymore. 2011. That would have been Salvos in Marrickville. Looks like I got a few books for $5. I think I have read a few of these. Sorry, I think I'm just holding back the sneeze. Yeah, he covered a lot of different subjects, this old Umberto. Outside of his novels, of course, he was a well-known scholar, academic. Wrote a lot about what's that word? Semantics. Yeah, semantics, which is a whole another fascinating kind of science. Where's this edition from? It's a bit battered. A couple of ripped pages. 1986. Yeah, 1986. So it would have come just after his mega blockbuster Name of the Rose. Gurdjieff. Life is real only when I am. I got this at a kind of like a weird little hippie stall at the Addison Road Markets. Would have been probably 2011. Yeah, right about then. 2010, 2011. I was going through a bit of a Gurdjieff kind of phase, and the lady who was running the store was an ex Gurdjieffian. Is that even a word? And she had a few different ones. She had Tales of Beelzebub, but it was too expensive, and I got this one instead. I think I only paid $5 for it. 1999 edition. Gurdjieff was a crazy. I'm not going to say crazy. No, he was a very interesting dude. Yeah, and this book's really cool. It's I read this after the Glass Bead game. I was working in a warehouse, and I'd read it in my lunch breaks, and people were like, "What are you reading?" And I'm just like, "Gurdjieff, dude." I haven't read it for like 12 years. He wrote 3 of these books. He didn't write a lot of stuff, but what he did write and leave behind was very confounding and confusing, and deliberately so. And you can find big books of his talks which kind of make more sense of the stuff that he wrote, to put out there, to explain what he didn't really explain what he was doing. Other people did a better job of explaining what he was doing, because he was just like, yeah, who knows, man. Gurdjieff was a fascinating human being. Sam Harris, Waking Up. A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion. That's my kind of book. I haven't read this one. It explores meditation and stuff like that. Didn't pick it up. I haven't read it yet. When's this one? This is a hardcover edition, so it might be a first edition. 2014. Go away, fly. Yeah. I'll get there eventually. I do like Sam Harris. He's got a pretty good podcast, also called Waking Up. And another one. New one out, I think. Yeah. Interesting guy. Can't remember where I got that from. I think it was from Tempe Tip, the old salvos there. This one I got from my friend at the bookshop, Rachel, Johnathan Lethem. She loves Johnathan Lethem, man. Gotta read his stuff. And Johnathan Lethem wrote a really cool book. He's written a few really good books. One that turned me on to him was, is it back there? The Fortress of Solitude. That was a really cool book. And he's done a bunch of sci-fi as well. I think he was in charge of Philip K. Dick's library for a little bit before it burnt down. Or was that Terence McKenna? Girl and Landscape. Yeah, they moved to another planet, and yeah, I haven't read this in ages, probably at least 10 years. I quite liked it. Young girl, new planet after kind of like, the world kind of implodes, and then they find evidence of previous inhabitants and stuff like that. Cool book. I liked it. I liked Johnathan Lethem's sci-fi stuff. Erotica. I think I might have just grabbed this off the bottom. I'm sure I've gone through this. I can't show any of these pictures in here, but it's a history of erotic art. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a good resource, I found. Informative, artistic, beautiful, very cool. Can't escape the erotica. It's a Taschen edition. Taschen publishers. They do cool books, man. Like cool, like capital COOL books. When was this published? Doesn't say. There's a big bootay. Part of their Icons series. It's not new, but it's not old. Erotica. So I've got to cover those drawn nipples. Volume 2. Yeah. From Gilles Neret. Thanks everyone. If you've got any discussion you want to start about any of these books, let me know. I see a cockatoo incoming. I'm going to land on my balcony. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Going through these books, most of which I haven't read. Isn't that the case though, fellow book lovers and collectors? Yeah, we'll get to them eventually. And if we don't, when we die, people will go, why the hell did they have those books? What's going through their heads? You need never know, sir, madam, person. Anyway, have a good week. I'll see you next time for episode 23. And yeah, hit me up, send me a message, anything like that. Say hi. That'd be cool. Thanks. All right. Bye, everybody.